Microphone's on. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to the May 8th regularly scheduled City Council meeting. And thank you, everyone, for coming out on a drizzly night, but we've been going through this for a while now with our public hearing this evening. But we have some City Council business we need to take care of first. And those people, I'd just like to set out some rules for later on. There's a sign, or there was a sign up there that says those speaking in favor on one side and with the other. Where'd it go? Okay. So those who are speaking in favor this evening, later on during the public hearing, should be seated or standing on this side of the room, and those speaking in opposition will be allowed to speak from this side of the room. And as you see, we have two podiums this evening, one in favor and one opposed. So we'll be alternating back and forth so that there'll be equal time amongst all of us this evening to get our opinions and discussion in. However, the presentations themselves will both be done from this podium, as I believe there's going to be some electronics that may need to be needed. So we'll use this podium for that. But in the meantime, again, welcome to the May 8th City Council meeting. And would you please stand and join us in a flag salute and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Here I am. I can't stand these chairs. Oh no, really, you need a pillow. The first item, we want the microphone. The first item on the agenda is oral communications. The public shall have the opportunity at every regularly scheduled meeting to be heard under oral communications on matters not appearing on the agenda. Oral communication shall allow any resident who has a request or a complaint of any nature relative to city business to appear before the council, state your problem without debate, and the matter shall be referred to the proper agency through the office of the mayor. The resident must be notified by the office of the mayor in writing within 2 weeks relative to the disposition of same, and a copy shall be forwarded to the city council. Persons speaking under oral communication shall be limited to 3 minutes each. The council president shall not allow complaints as to individual performance or character. That being said, is there anyone present this evening that would like to address the city council under oral communications? Please come forward and speak from this microphone. Identify yourself, name and address, please.
My name is Valerie Nelson, 7 Sunset Point Road. And I would like to bring to the attention of the council my conversation with the state treasurer, Steve Grossman, on Sunday. I explained to him that we were going to be dealing with a bonding authorization for a study on the West Parish School, and a strong argument that was that you could only receive a state subsidy for a new school and not for a repair. And the state treasurer explained to me that that was actually quite incorrect, that the subsidy is the same whether the city built a new school at West Parish, repaired the school at West Parish, or rebuilt the Fuller School. And he was very firm on that, that the state is very interested in a full and complete analysis of all new and rebuild options for the city when they undertake an examination of a subsidy. And so I would very much appreciate if that clarification be brought before the City Council when the bonding vote takes place for a study on West Parish. It really, the expectation of the state is it would include an analysis of all options, including rebuild of West Parish and Fuller. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Is there anyone else this evening that would like to address the City Council on an item not already on the agenda? Okay, we'll close oral communications. This evening, Mayor Kirk is prepared to present the fiscal year 2013 budget to the City Council. Once the mayor presents the budget to the council, the budget then becomes the property of the City Council. So without further ado, Mayor Kirk, would you like to address the City Council? And then I'll turn to Councilor McGeary for a motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the City Council. The budget was officially transmitted to the City Clerk's office this afternoon, and in the event that you do not have your binder with you, submitted to you this evening is a copy of the budget transmittal memorandum from the mayor's office at your seat. And I will just be taking you through some highlights of the FY13 fiscal budget. The fiscal year begins July 1st, 2012 and runs through June 30th, 2013. First, before I start, I'd like to thank my team, Jim Duggan, the Chief Administrative Officer of the city, and Jeff Town, the Chief Financial Officer, who have worked diligently for the past 2+ months with department heads to wrangle this budget and bring it into balance. My obligation is to submit to the City Council a balanced budget, and you have that before you now. There are 3 things that the administration has prioritized in this budget. The first is continued good fiscal management of the city. The second is education. And the third is continuing with infrastructure improvements. And we have worked very hard to make those improvements affordable within this fiscal year 13 budget. The total amount to be voted by City Council is $90,842,590. That is the total for the general fund for the fiscal year 13 budget. This memorandum has 4 sections. I'm not going to take you through all of it. I will pick some highlights. So if you turn to page 2, section 1, which are revenue highlights of fiscal year 13, there's a summary of state revenues, and there's also some highlights of local revenues and how they're trending. There's also, if I could draw your attention to number 3, which talks about one-time revenue. We have pulled in $600,000 of one-time revenue into this budget to support the school department allocation. And the reason we're doing that is because the way that the charter school funding formula is working, the city is absorbing more and more of the expense of the charter school, and to have minimal impact both on the city and the schools, we are bringing in $600,000 of one-time revenue. This is a 2-year budgeting strategy. We will have to do this next year. But then once the city has absorbed the entire expense of the charter school, revenues that are currently being diverted there can do the backfilling that will be needed to avoid the cliff that occurs when you use one-time revenue sources. We will be going through this in detail in our budget reviews with City Council. On page 3, section 2, I just want to talk about the school budget recommendation. The administration is proposing a 4% increase to the school budget. That is an increase of $1,350,000 over the voted appropriation the council made in June of last year. That amount includes the $600,000. There's a couple of reasons for the level of this funding. I've already talked about one. The second is that we are continuing a transition away from the federal stimulus money that this city accepted, the school committee accepted over the past couple of years. So that funding has been going away, and last year there was a cliff. The total amount over 2 years was $1.6 million. Last year the school committee had to absorb $800,000, and they eliminated 41 positions in the school department. This year, we're trying to avoid that and give the superintendent, who's new to the district, the resources that he needs in order to continue his focus on student achievement. So we are transitioning away from the federal stimulus money, absorbing the impact of the charter school, and trying to maintain high quality and focus on student achievement in the Gloucester Public Schools. That is the reason for that degree of allocation. Overall spending out of the general fund on education actually is about $46.7 million when you look at all education-related expenses, and that is over 50% of general fund revenues. If you go to page 4, I'll just go through a few expense highlights in the city departments. In the police department, we've been able to keep up with the attrition that's been occurring through different types of vacancies. And this budget calls for the hiring of 1 new police officer. It is not as aggressive as a hiring schedule as we would like, but we're moving in the right direction. In the fire department, we have hired 1 new position that was actually brought on board in FY12, but in FY13 carries that new position forward. That was the position we funded initially with free cash just a few months ago. And the paramedic levels remain the same at 20. Department of Public Works, we are emphasizing the need to increase our allocation on custodial services in the schools. On page 5, if you look at the Sawyer Free Library, the city has had to go on a waiver because we don't meet the funding threshold that's necessary for a public library in a community of our size. So we've increased the amount there for the Sawyer Free Library, but it still is probably not at the level that it needs to be, but again, it's moving in the right direction. On the community development reorganization, we have slowed the implementation down. You'll see the explanation there, but the reorg impact on this budget is about $69,000. Regarding section 4, which is at the bottom of page 5, on the water enterprise fund, we anticipate that the water rate will be going up 3.7%. which would bring that to $9.07. We have worked very hard to keep that increase manageable and at the same time do the necessary infrastructure improvements that are mandated and required for the city. Over on the last page, the sewer enterprise fund looks like it will be having a 1% increase, which would bring that rate to $11.08. Again, we have significant amount of work that's being done on the sewer infrastructure. And then there's a treatment of the waterways enterprise fund as well as the Talbot Rink. And that brings this summary to a conclusion. And I just want to express to the City Council our desire to work cooperatively with you as you now wrestle with this budget and we come to some consensus on what the priority spending areas are for the City of Gloucester for the upcoming fiscal year. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Mayor Kirk. The chair now recognizes Councilor Paul McGarry, chairperson of our Budget and Finance Committee, for a motion to accept the mayor's proposed fiscal year 13 budget. Councilor McGarry.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 32, and pursuant to the Gloucester City Charter, Section 6, that the City Council accepts the receipt of the Mayor's fiscal year 2013 proposed budget and becomes the budget of the City Council, and to refer this budget to the Budget and Finance City Council Standing Committee for further review. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by Councilor Scialino. Further discussion, Councilor McGarry.
This will start a long process for my colleagues and myself on the Budget and Finance Committee, and we will post on the city website when the hearings are held, and we invite anybody and everybody to attend. These meetings will continue between now and I believe the middle of June is our last meeting. And I encourage all of you who have an interest in the city budget, who want to understand how it ticks, to come to those hearings. They're held typically in the first floor conference room in City Hall.
Thank you. Any further discussion by the council? All those in favor of accepting the proposed fiscal year 13 budget, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously on a vote of 9-0. Thank you, Councilor. Moving on to our next agenda item will be the consent agenda. Is there anyone of the council that would like to amend the consent agenda, adding, deleting, amending? Anyone at all? And I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second? Okay. Seconded by Councilor Cox. Thank you very much. Okay. The consent agenda has now been accepted. We will move now. We're going to be taking the next item out. Excuse me? All right. I guess we'll vote on it. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? I apologize. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously, 9-0. We'll be taking the public hearing next. It'll be taken out of order, and hopefully we'll have time at the end of the meeting to do our committee reports. So as I said earlier, the rules for this evening's public hearing, because there's so much participation that we're anticipating that's going to be given this evening, the applicant will be given up to 20 minutes to make their presentation, please, from this podium, if you have some electronics that you need. That'll work. You don't have any electronics you're going to need? Okay, you can use that one then, John. Okay, and that will be followed by a designated spokesperson for those that are in opposition. And I understand there are 2 spokespersons that are designated for the opposition. To be fair, we'll split the 20 minutes so that they will receive 10 minutes each, making it fair participation between them. Then after the initial presentations have been made, we will ask people who are speaking in favor to speak from this podium for up to 3 minutes, followed by someone speaking from this podium in opposition for up to 3 minutes. We're going to keep a strict handle on the 3-minute time frame. I've asked Councilor Why Not to be the timekeeper this evening. And you'll have the 3 minutes, and when it gets to the 30-second point, he'll let you know by simply saying 30 seconds. And when the time is up, so we're going to be fair. We have to keep it in line. We have a lot of people to hear from. There's been a lot of meetings that we've already conducted. There's hearings that have been conducted. This has been going on since the day it was received at the city clerk's office. I would now like to turn, if I may, to Councilor Toby, who can bring us up to date as to how we got here before I ask the city clerk to read the hearing notice into the record. Councilor, can you give us a briefing as to the stages, as to the path that this application has followed?
Yes, ma'am. The Planning Board, after referral of this petition out from the council, held several hearing sessions on March 12th, 15th, 5th, and 12th, of the last 2 dates being April. All of those were conducted jointly with P&D. The P&D public meetings that then followed, once we received the recommendation of the Planning Board, which was accompanied by staff analysis, and I would particularly highlight the March 30th, 2012 memo prepared by the Planning Director, were before P&D. We met on 2 occasions, April 18th and May 2nd. A total of 6 sessions were held. Of course, that all occurred on the foundation of extensive rezoning conversations that had occurred in 2008 and in 2010. I've asked the Planning Director, in fact, to conduct an inventory of all the conversations which have occurred in public settings as a result of the zoning focus being on this parcel in recent years, and he gives me a docket of 28 public sessions, an extensive opportunity for vetting of considerations and concerns as it relates to the area. It is based on the initial vote of the council referring this and our obligation to set a public hearing date within 65 days of the filing, that this public hearing was initially opened, I believe, 4 weeks ago, 2 meetings ago. And we are now at the procedural point with a motion from P&D coming forward this evening to frame the conversation, that the public hearing resumes.
Thank you, Councilor Tovey. City Clerk Linda Lowe, would you please read the public advertisement notice into the record, please, so that we can open the public hearing?
This is public hearing 2012-022 for zoning amendment 2012-002 in reference to Commercial Street number 33 and number 47 to amend Gloucester zoning ordinance to create a hotel overlay district. The notice of this public hearing is in accordance with the provisions of the City of Gloucester zoning ordinance section 1.11 in Mass General Laws chapter 48 section 5. Gloucester City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 10th, 2012 at 7 p.m. in the Kairos Auditorium, City Hall, relative to the following. And that date was continued until this date to amend Gloucester zoning ordinance by adding new section 5.25 to create a hotel overlay district, or HOD, at number 33 and number 47 Commercial Street, map 1, lots 22 and 23, consisting of approximately 3 plus or minus acres. Said new section to be entitled, quote, Hotel Overlay District, quote, which will allow a hotel use and authorized accessory uses by special permit to be obtained from City Council. The application for a zoning amendment for 33 and 47 Commercial Street and the accompanying map may be viewed or could have been viewed at the office of the City Clerk at City Hall during regular business hours. The public hearing, all interested persons will have the opportunity to be heard. This was advertised in the Gloucester Daily Times, March 23rd and March 30th.
Thank you. I'd just like to remind everybody before we actually open the public hearing that if you have your cell phones on, please turn them to off or vibrate. If you find you must make or receive a call, please do so downstairs. Your voice carries when in the hallway just outside of this auditorium. Thank you very kindly. I'll now open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone that would like to speak or make a presentation in favor of the application before us for rezoning.
You have to speak, hold it and speak right into it. How's this? A little closer. Closer?
John, I invite you to use the other one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Does this work better? Good evening, members of the council. I'm John Cunningham. My office is at 59 Main Street in Gloucester. I'm representing Beauport Gloucester LLC, the applicant, and Sherry DiLorenzo, its partner. Councilor Tovey has summarized the proceedings to date. After considering the concerns expressed at those meetings, the HOD has been revised, and the amended text, dated May 2nd, 2012, has been submitted to the council. I believe you have that before you. The adoption of the HOD has been recommended unanimously by the Planning Board, and you have their recommendation in your materials, along with the minutes of the hearings and all of the comments, the numerous comments submitted. The P&D Committee reviewed and commented on suggested revisions and voted unanimously to forward the HOD to the Council for public hearing. It's been stated many times, but just so that it's absolutely clear, the Hotel Overlay District does not allow anything, no hotel or any other structure, to be built as a matter of right. The Hotel Overlay District adds a process for seeking approval of a City Council special permit for a hotel located within the boundaries of the HOD and nowhere else. The City Council and all of the other appropriate city boards and commissions will review, approve, and appropriately condition any proposed hotel on this site. The Bird's Eye site is a beachfront site with great views of Gloucester's outer harbor. It is not a harbor site. It has no access for fishing or commercial vessels. There's no deep water, no wharf. And unlike the properties on the inner harbor, the site is not a designated port area under Chapter 91. The city's planning director, as part of the planning board's thorough process, prepared a memorandum which you have in the record, which summarizes the planning board's review of the planning considerations. 2 recent city planning documents were reviewed. Relevant portions were submitted to the record. Those plans contain a 3-pronged strategy. Calls for 1, support of our fishing industry, 2, the visitor-based economy, and 3, development of marine technology and scientific uses of our harbor. At the Planning Board's public hearings, testimony was given that a hotel is an important economic driver for the visitor-based economy, and it's also key to the development of the marine technology businesses which we would all like to see develop in our city. Many hotels, small and large, have been built through the years in Gloucester. Gloucester's had a long tradition of welcoming visitors, many of whom have stayed and become part of our community. None of these hotels interfered with the fishing industry, but instead brought visitors to Gloucester, including artists and writers who've become part of our history and our economy. Hotels have supported an important component of Gloucester's visitor-based economy for more than a century. It's widely recognized that there's a need for a downtown hotel and more hotel capacity in Gloucester. There was testimony that existing businesses, which are major employers presently located in Gloucester, have to send their visitors out of town. And also testimony that marine technology businesses, which we would like to have come to Gloucester to support the development of the Maritime Economy Initiative, need hotel and conference space in the downtown to operate effectively. There's been testimony also about the importance of tax revenue from the hotel and the businesses which will work with the hotel, which will support the city's budget, broaden the tax base, and lessen the load on homeowners and renters alike for real estate taxes as well as water and sewer rates. In addition to real estate taxes, the hotel will generate room taxes and meal tax revenue, as well as providing new opportunities for employment. The Bird's Eye Plan has been unused and deteriorating for 8 years or more. We now have the opportunity to convert this site to an attractive, revenue-generating, and job-generating hotel. The opportunity for a hotel is not speculative, it's real. The property owners have the experience and the capacity to build and operate a successful hotel, as well as a proven record in working with the community and surrounding businesses and industries. The upland parcel is a wonderful site for a hotel. Whether visitors are coming into town for a vacation, to visit family, or on business, a hotel has an important potential to contribute to the revitalization of Gloucester's local economy and the downtown, as well as providing jobs and showcasing our city. Through the hearing process, we've listened to the concerns and suggested revisions to the amendment so that it is more clearly defined and limited. The text of the May 2nd HOD reflects the changes resulting from the Planning Board, P&D, and public comments. The amendment now better defines hotel and sets forth workable dimensional standards and boundaries, ensuring the City Council's full control of hotel development on the site. The owners of the property remain committed to the public use of Pavilion Beach in front of the site and look forward to continuing the process as part of the special permit discussion so that, one, as part of the project, better public access from Commercial Street and Fort Square to Pavilion Beach will be a part of those plans. The industrial remnants on the beach can be removed, and the public use of the beach can be formalized forever. I'd now like to review the provisions of the revised amendment itself. Each of you have copies of that text. The first section is important because it states the city's public purpose objectives in creating a special permit process for a hotel. The second section includes a more specific definition of hotel, resulting from the Planning Board review and comments. Through the process, the HOD boundaries were the subject of much discussion. The parcel at 33 Commercial Street, which is where the Chamber of Commerce is located, is now excluded in its entirety from the HOD. We've submitted today to the Council an alternative HOD zoning map dated May 8, 2012, which defines and further limits the HOD to an area 10 feet from the property line of the upland parcel. The existing building is located on that property line, and the 10 feet is measured from the property line as shown on the map submitted. In this 10-foot area, there are already numerous remnants of industrial activity: large concrete pads, a metal stairway, abandoned pipe, a long retaining wall with a chain link fence on top of it. This is an area that can be cleaned up and where public access to the beach can be greatly improved. Any activity proposed in this area will be part of the special permit process. If it's the determination of the City Council that minimizing the HOD to the 10-foot line is in the public interest, then we would accept that determination. Again, just so it's clear, there will be no deck, no patio, no hotel building on the beach area, and any public access or storm protection structures will be completely within the City Council's review under the special permit process, along with other coastal regulators. The balance of this section makes it clear that the standard City Council special permitting process, filing requirements, and review standards all stay in place. The use section makes it clear that the HOD is focused solely on a hotel and does not allow any other residential use, and goes on to explicitly prohibit condominium, cooperative timeshare, or extended stay use, and reinforces what the zoning ordinance itself provides, that casino use is not allowed. As part of the review process, the dimensional table was revised to better define what could be expected in an application for a City Council special permit. Building height is handled by using the 40-foot standard from the MI district and the customary City Council process for allowing additional height as part of a special permit. The tower, which the owners would like to include in the plans, is being addressed separately from the height of the hotel itself. A front yard setback of 10 feet was added, as well as a 10-foot yard around the existing building at the corner of Commercial Street and Fort Square. The city's legal counsel has assured the P&D committee that the HOD is not spot zoning. The amendment meets all of the criteria that a court would look at in upholding the City Council's adoption of the overlay district. The amendment provides public benefits. It's a logical extension of the city's planning efforts. It revitalizes a deteriorated area. It's not for the sole benefit of the property owner, but has wider public benefits. And it develops Gloucester's economy, generates revenue, and increases employment opportunities. The key thing to keep in mind is that the HOD only allows a hotel within the narrowly defined district, and only after submitting all the required data and plans needed to receive approval from the City Council of a special permit. We respectfully request the City Council's approval of the HOD amendment. Sherry DiLorenzo, a partner in the Beauport Gloucester LLC, would like to address the Council as well as part of the applicant's presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Cunningham. Welcome, Ms. DiLorenzo.
Thank you. Good evening.
Going to ask you to speak up just a little bit tonight,
Is
Sherry.
that okay? Okay. Good evening. My name is Sherry DiLorenzo. I live at 1 Horton Street, Gloucester, Massachusetts. I'm partner at Beauport Gloucester LLC, Cruzport Gloucester LLC. And I'd like to thank you, Chairwoman Hardy, and the councilors for hearing us tonight. And I also would like to thank the city and Mayor Kirk for doing all the work necessary to bring this forth to the city. I am here tonight to ask the city councilors if we could get the hotel overlay.
If we could what? Could you speak up, Sherry? I'm sorry.
I am here tonight to ask the city councilors to vote on the hotel overlay district, 44 Commercial Street. Okay. As many of you know, I came here 6 years ago, and I fell in love with our city, the most beautiful place on earth. At the first meeting, I spoke about the tax revenues, the 3 tiers of tax, the property tax, the rooms tax, and the meals tax. There would be jobs, staff recruitment, which is very high on my list, retention and long-term employment. And living in harmony with the marine industrial business around me. Fishing vessels, roses, and Americold is an example. Last month, we held a job fair in Gloucester where we were able to recruit and eventually hire over 40 people. As I was hiring these people, I was struck by how many more people the hotel could employ. And I thought to myself, why not have a hotel at the Birdseye? I spoke about my volunteerism, economic business, in the biotechs. I have followed up with Greg Vidine and Mark Vidal and thought about the reality of bringing biotech to Gloucester. More jobs, we could have biotechs and scientists volunteer at Gloucester High School. And again, I thought, why not in Gloucester? You see, last weekend I had this big aha moment. I was walking through the function facility, and as we were hosting a wedding, walked into the entrance, and I saw these beautiful, beautiful wet flowers in the lobby that took my breath away. I walked around the corner, and I looked at the lovely tables and the actions of the workers setting up the room and working with each other, and words, not words being said, but working in a rhythm of beauty. I said, why not have a year-round business class hotel in Gloucester? Beauport Gloucester can offer just this. I looked at my bar staff, stocking the needs for the night, the valet gearing up, the function managers polishing the furniture, the servers polishing the silver. I saw all of these jobs that Beauport Gloucester can offer too. I said, why not in Gloucester? I went into the kitchen. I smelled the delicious food being prepared, and I thought to myself, how many local vendors it took to deliver the food to my facility. That was my aha moment, and I said, why not in Gloucester? I saw the dozens of cooks preparing the meals, and I said, why not at Beauport Gloucester? I kept walking, and I looked at a special couple in the restaurant. This is true. They were kissing, eating, and laughing together, and they were enjoying their meal. I looked around the restaurant, and I saw a river of smiles. I stepped back into the function facility. I saw a bride and groom and their family full of joy. You see, when you dine, I work. When you have a family function, I work. When a cruise ship comes into my facilities, I work. We are all students, mothers, and young families working together to support the local economy. I want to say I am hospitality. I love what I do. Hospitality means to me welcome. I welcome the community, and I welcome the visitors. I ask you, why not can Beauport Gloucester do the same thing? Why not have a hospitality business at the Birdseye? Why not welcome the public, the tourists, the local businesses, the community to our beautiful hotel? I want us, as a community, to come together and create a hotel that we can all be proud of. Why not? A hotel that I can promise will showcase our city in a positive way. A hotel that will welcome you and all the city to the city of Gloucester. Please give me a chance to fulfill my promise to our community. I thank you for listening to me about my passion, my love for the city, and my future plans. I am filled with gratitude. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I know it's human nature to applaud someone when you're in favor of what they've said or you agree with it. But for the duration of the evening, if we could just hold our applause, perhaps until the end or until you're recognized to do so, it will save time throughout the meeting. You took just about the 20 minutes, 19 and a half minutes. Hopefully your presentation is complete within those 20 minutes, Attorney Cunningham. Thank you very kindly. The chair will now recognize a designated spokesperson from the opposition, and I believe Councilor Fayette and Councilor Hill will split the 20 minutes for 10 minutes each. Thank you.
Councilor, before I start, could I ask the chair a question?
Sure.
I was taken aback and surprised, but there's been another amendment to the plan that's dated today. I will confess to you, I've never seen it. Could I at least have the benefit on behalf of my client of seeing now the revised plan of the overlay district?
Thank you, Councilor Verga.
Madam Chair, perhaps in the interest of time, Attorney Hill would like to start. Do you need time?
I think I'm entitled to at least look at what's proposed.
Yes, you certainly are.
Okay, for the record, my name is Michael Fayette, and I'm here this evening representing Mortellaro Lobster, LLC, and Vincent and Gino Mortellaro individually. My clients own property at 58 and 60 Commercial Street. They also own another small parcel of land across the street at 65 Commercial Street. I want to correct a misimpression that I overheard from one councilor several weeks ago stating that that's nothing but a shed at 65 Commercial Street. That is, in fact, a lobster pool, a pound, that during peak season generates approximately 30% of the volume of the lobster company. My clients oppose the overlay for several reasons. One, and this is important, it eliminates the protection that was granted in the ordinance for maritime uses in the MI district. Section 5.18, 518, excuse me, of the zoning ordinance was specifically adopted when this council cared about the integrity of the MI district. And it says that in any special permit granting situation, the council shall consider the following factors. And I'll only read, because time only permits me to read the last one, but it's the most important one. It says that the council is to consider to what extent will the proposed use beneficially affect the preservation of water-related uses on surrounding properties. This, I suggest to you, includes all of the businesses that are on Harbor Cove. That is eliminated. You will not, when you get your application, you will not be considering the beneficial interest. All of Section 518 is bygone with this proposal. In addition to that, footnote E, which requires the height of the setback of a building to be 1/3 of the height of the building if it faces on the waterfront. In addition to that, it eliminates the requirements that other MI properties have to comply with regard to parking. Remember, they're seeking the parking only for the hotel, not for any of the ancillary uses, which they described in their application as being a conference center for 100 people and potentially a restaurant for 100 people. This ordinance, as it's drafted, still makes no sense. I would refer you to section 5.25.4.1, which is the dimensional table. You'll notice on the front yard that Mr. Cunningham referred to, it's footnote G, and it says a 10-yard front yard. But then the footnote G says, in an HOD district, a yard of 10 feet from the lot line shall be provided when a building on an adjacent lot and existing at the time of this ordinance is located within 10 feet of that line. That's nothing to do with front yard. The footnote is misplaced, but most importantly, this is the only place in this ordinance, only place, where my requirement as a property owner to set my building back from my property line is dependent on my neighbor's placement of his building. You're making a big exception and setting a dangerous precedent in that regard. With regard to the beach, we've now limited this to 10 feet. But there is no explanation in this ordinance that says what you can do in that 10 feet. We've heard 2 verbal explanations. It is not in writing, and as such, would not be binding on this council or any future applicant. With regard to the beach, I submitted to you a letter from Peter Rosen, who's a coastal geologist. Mr. Rosen is well qualified. We submitted his vita with it. His findings include the fact that this beach is not only a barrier beach, but it's also, thank you, also a coastal dune. And anyone with any experience on the fort, if you go down there, you will still see that this dune is trying hard to work because it pushes the sand up off the beach into the parking lot and wraps around onto Commercial Street. Go down there today. There's several inches of sand on the sidewalk on the Commercial Street side of this building. This is still a working dune. I would question whether anyone coming forward to place this hotel on any other dune other than the dune on Pavilion Beach would even get past the city clerk's office. In addition to that, the setback requirements. We have 10 feet on the front, and I know people have said, well, we're going to deal with this later, and the applicant has said, we're going to come in with a building height of approximately 60 feet. We'll accept 40, but they've told you they're coming forward. And I'm going to show you some what are called shadow studies. And these are not difficult to do, and I did my very best to take their planning at face value. They said they wanted a peak roof, gable roof, and they talked about something that would be, we got that very short glimpse, was a horseshoe-shaped structure. In the winter, which is the key time for shadowing because the sun is low in the sky, this is how this is done. This is the extent to which a 60-foot building, all the way across Beach Court and all the way out pretty close to Western Avenue. That's the shadow that a 60-foot building in this location is going to cast in the winter. If you notice on all of these drawings, that's at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is at 10 o'clock. This is still the same shadow. Notice the Commercial Street will be completely in the shade in the winter, which has consequences. Afternoon, my client's property gets completely enveloped with the shade. The shade is very clear, completely in, and the street in the front receiving no sunlight for helping melt or anything else, and softening up snow and ice for drainage. And in the late afternoon, again, not only my client's property, but the whole of the other properties down the way. No one in this process has actually considered the fact of what happened on Commercial Street. Commercial Street, as we know, is inadequate. It's very narrow, it's only 24 feet wide, and as I've told the groups before, there is no public layout. Everyone calls it a public street, but you cannot find in this city a layout of that street. Now, if you look at this map here, everyone's talking, I've heard people say, there's going to be no change, nothing's going to happen down the fort, everyone will get along. Well, there's a concept at the fort, which isn't in every place in our town. I'm calling it commercial interdependent cooperation. And I'm going to give you a very good example. In front of my client's property, right across the street, is where the coal store has its shipping cargo lanes, for them, okay? Now, for the trucks to get out of that area, they couldn't get out of that area without nosing on to the Mortal Hour, formerly the Frontiero property.
Excuse me, Councilor, you have approximately 3 minutes left. Thank you.
Additionally, the Mortal Hour trucks that pull into its staging area, and I would note that the setback from the Mortal Hour property is considerably more than 10 feet throughout. Also, we want to make a 3-point turn back from on the street, back up been an existing situation for a long time. And I am not suggesting to you that anyone has a right to use anyone else's property. But however, at the fort, it has been a way of life and a necessity. And that's why I'm calling it interdependent cooperation. Recently, even with the minimal contract work that the gas company did down in this area, coupled with the presence now of concrete barriers, Jersey barriers in this area that used to support the terminal for the coal store, I've given you 9 letters from shippers, truckers that support the Model R operation, and all of them threaten with the fact that they may not be able to deliver anymore here because of the time delays and the problems they're having with turning around and getting here. That, I would suggest to you, is an effect. And when people tell me there's going to be no effect, no impact, I don't believe it. The last point I want to make is this, that you've heard, let's kick this down the road. When we get an application, we'll make decisions. Once you have a situation where you have set standards, if an applicant comes in and meets those standards, you will be legally powerless to make those requirements any stiffer, because a court will not uphold them when you have the requirements. So it's 0 setback, 0 intensity of use. In closing, I just want to make one point. The last time that I have witnessed what I'm calling a political frenzy to get this done was in April of 2010. And you'll remember, you people were deliberating then concerning I-4 and C2. And it was the same arguments. This is going to be the economic linchpin that sets us forward. We don't have to deal with details now. That'll all come later. And I would suggest to you this, councilors. Where did that get you? And that's the same